Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode on the Hermitcraft Amplified server. It is that time again and I'm excited today because I have so many things to tell you about and there's so many things that we're going to do in this episode as well. We have had our first meeting up here in the Crown Hall, which is now what this place is going to be called. It wasn't our first ever meeting. We have a meeting the first Friday of every month. But it was our first meeting up here in the Crown Hall. This place is lovely. Slipgate has done a fantastic job up here. But we have a lot of things to talk about this episode. First of all, yes, you may notice I have 290 levels of XP. I've been doing a lot of AFK farming over there while I've been playing on the mod source server. So we have tons of gold, tons of XP as well. Expect to see that number go up. But at the meeting, we discussed so many important things that are going to happen and change here on the Amplified server, and I could sit here and talk about it for about 10 minutes, and we're not going to do that. We want to get on to doing some building and some other things as well, so we're going to talk about them one by one as the episode goes on. So first things first, donate ender balls for the dragon fight here. That's right, I got to come over here and donate a couple myself. This is so that we can actually get there. Last time I think we turned up for the ender dragon fight and realised that between us we didn't have enough ender pearls. So we're not going to make that mistake again. We have scheduled a date for the ender dragon fight, which is going to be awesome, so we can all get together as a group and do that. And we have actually added a twist to this fight, which I think is going to make it a lot of fun. So the twist is that we're not going to fight with any armour at all. We're going to go in there naked, and the only weapon you're allowed to bring with you is a bow. It must be unenchanted, so bows and arrows are the only weapon for fighting the Ender Dragon, which is kind of how it goes anyway. But the other thing is that the only way you're allowed to destroy the Ender Crystals is with a snowball or an egg, which I think is going to make it really difficult and really challenging, and I think we're going to see a lot of deaths. I'm at 9 at the moment, and I reckon that number's going to go up when the Ender Dragon fight happens. So that was one of the many things we discussed at the meeting. The other one was this area over here. We have this flat area in between a lot of our builds, and I wanted this to be the kind of communal travel area, I guess you could say, a kind of place to walk through from one place to the other, which it kind of is at the moment. But the thing is, it looked a little bit ugly, you know. It just had some temporary farms, there was torches everywhere, and it didn't look so great. And what we want to do is purify up this area. So we had a meeting, I discussed what I wanted to do here. The other hermits are happy for me to take the lead, and if anyone wants to join me in making this area look pretty, they are more than welcome. And the result of that is that we have started doing a little bit of terraforming. We all just cleared out this area right here, and we're going to do a lot more of that this episode, because even though this is one of the flattest areas, it still is really hilly, and when you're walking around you're jumping all the time, which is not what we want. We want a nice peaceful kind of mellow leveled out area in the middle here, and it's not going to be completely flat like this bit. It's going to be nice and I don't know what the word is, but a gentle gradient, I guess you could say. And so anyway, what I want to do is just head over here to False's area, because she's kind of started with the purification already. If you just have a look around here, this is what I'm talking about. Making the area look lived in, look like a home. There's lots of detail everywhere. There's light sources hidden underground, you know, no torch spamming. Unless like on the trees or on top of these bits, I guess. But that's what we want to do for the whole of this middle area over here and that area over on that side. So it kind of connects up everyone's builds, and we've got proper pathways to move around. So that's one of the things that I want to start work on this episode. I'm going to do a little bit of terraforming. But before we get to that, let's talk about what I have been doing in between episodes, as well as doing some AFK farming. I've worked on this thing over here. Now, the baked bean wood, it was a real love-hate thing. A lot of you loved it. I think most people loved it, but then some people hated it. And I thought, you know what, I could give in, I could change this up and do it with a different material, but I think I should go with what I like, because this is my build, and I want it to be reflective of, you know, my style of building. So I've decided to keep it. I really love the colour. It's big and bold, and I know some of you hate it, but I just like it. So another thing you may notice is that this is actually quite different from the last time you saw it, and that is because I have rebuilt the entire thing. Let's go up to the top and head down from there. So what I decided to do was to space out each of the platforms from one another by one more block. There were 4 blocks in between last time, and I moved it out to 5, and that way they're a little more spaced out, but you get down to the ground quicker, because between each platform you go down by 1 block. So this goes down an extra block into this room, so does the next one. And by the way, this is where the baked bean wood is going to end. I think up here we'll have a different theme. But then this is a little bit lower, a little bit pushed further out, which I actually like. It means it's hanging. You'll notice that the dark oak wood here goes up to the ceiling, and when we see it from down below, it's a hanging little room, which I think looks really cool. And so this one is now a little bit lower down, and that means it goes closer to the ground quicker. And I've started doing a little bit of terraforming over here. I still think this needs to go down by a couple of blocks, and that's so that this has room to be close to the ground without looking a little bit odd, which it kind of does at the moment. So let's talk about the actual changes that we made to this right here. There is a lot to talk about, I know. The main comment I got from all of you was that too many colours are going to spoil this, and I agree completely. So what I did is I removed the dark oak wood and replaced it with spruce, so that is one less colour and one less texture. And on the inside here I changed these posts to spruce ones, so that's another texture left. And now I think it looks really good. I really do like it, and I've been playing around with the details underneath. We've got the posts on this side, and I've been comparing it to a suggestion that I got to use stained brown glass, and I do like it, but it does look a little bit off. I think if the brown colour was darker it would really work here, but otherwise I don't think we're going to be keeping that. But I will play around with this. These are not done yet. We've got to add more details like stone buttons or maybe wooden buttons on the outside, some other blocks, some banners, little things like that, just to make it look a little bit more finished. But we have a lot of more work to do before we get round to that. I'm going to do terraforming first of all, and I said it, I told myself not to say terraforming, I mean landscaping. We're going to be making this area look real nice, real leveled out, and it's going to take me a little bit of time. And I thought, do you know what, it's been a while since I did a time lapse. We haven't done one here on the server, and you guys love the time lapses. We're going to be doing one. We are. We're going to be doing a landscaping time lapse. It's going to be awesome and epic. It means I've got to do a little bit of enchanting, make sure I've got enough tools to do this. But first of all, we kind of need to scout out the area and just see what changes we are going to make. So I've been moving around trying to get a good view of this area, and I realised what the problem is that we have too many of these trees here, and they're kind of obscuring the contours of the land, because I wanted to show you, where the steep areas are, where we're going to push them back in this time lapse, and what we're going to do overall. And those trees are getting in the way, so I've got a little bit of tree chopping to do, and I actually think the better view would be from that side over there. So I'll get to work, clear out this area a little bit, then hopefully we'll be able to kind of see the contours of the land and where we're going to push them back and change them, etc. So I'll do a little bit of tree chopping and be back in a moment. And that is a much better view now with those trees cleared. You can see just how steep this is. You can also kind of see a line of torches. That's where we want to have a path. We're going to be putting paths in everywhere, connecting everything together. So that portal, by the way, is temporary. That will probably be moved. But all of this hill right here, I think, needs to kind of be terraformed a little so it's not so steep and it doesn't come over to this area as much, because the other side where that bridge is very steep getting up to this area. So that's probably all going to get lowered by quite a few blocks, probably down to this level right here where Mumbo's built his melon and pumpkin farms. I'm assuming that's his. It's kind of his build style, so I'd guess that's probably what he had done. And we're going to be focusing more on this side over here today. All of this bit around here, we've got to move these temporary farms first. So if we move down and around the side here, it'd be really nice to throw an ender pearl. I always have that instinct to throw one, and it's going to be really great once we have an end farm up and running. But if we come around here, you can see that this area over here is quite hilly as well. If all of that's getting lowered down, then maybe we'll do a little bit of terraforming around this area as well. But the main bit we're going to focus on is that hill right there and this one over here. And if we go and take a closer look at it, you'll see that it kind of cuts off this area from the area on the other side. Also, this bit right here I'm probably going to change up a fair bit since it's right underneath my little base up there, the wizard's hat base. So this hill right here, which we've already started a little bit of terraforming, you can see that if we go over here, it's quite big, and this area over here isn't very flat at all. So if you flatten this bit in the middle, it'll give a nice flat area leading through to the other side, and there's not actually too much to connect to. You've got spums, whatever that is over there. I think it's a snow farm, and then behind it you've got Jevin's base, and over here I am Spoons. So not so much activity on this side, but we do want a path that leads through. So anyway, I got a little bit of preparation to do. I need to set up a beacon somewhere. That's going to be extremely useful. Got to get some more tools as well, just make sure I have enough. We have the XP for that, so I'm going to do a little bit of enchantment, and then we are ready for a time lapse. So you should be hearing some music. It should all go to plan, and there should be a nice enjoyable time lapse. So there we go, another one, another time lapse under our belt. I love making these, and this one was probably not the most interesting. I don't know how terraforming, or landscaping as it's actually called, is. I feel like it's a bit of a hit and miss for some people. I really enjoy doing it though, so I had a lot of fun doing this, and just walking over all of what we've done so far. It's going to look a little bit odd, it's not going to look so great. Do you want to know why? Because if you look in the natural areas, there's lots of grass, and that kind of helps break things up, and we don't have that over here. We don't have that at all, do we? So it is going to look a little bit odd, and yes, there's stone in places. The next thing that I'm going to go around and do is torch everything up and replace everything with grass. But you can see that we've got this nice gentle slope coming down here, and that gives us a much wider open space that's quite flat around the bottom here, which is important. That's what we wanted, especially this bit over here. There's no longer that steep hill leading up to the portal, so you can kind of see where it used to be. And then over here I've done a little bit as well. I didn't capture everything in the time lapse, you know, we're just going to walk around and have a quick look so you can kind of see how everything goes. This area over here I think is actually fine being a little bit higher up, as the main path is going to come through the centre here. It's going to go over through into that area. It's going to meet up with a path from over there. It's going to go up to the hill to the Cheers, the Cheers pub, and it's going to go over here through to the other side as well. One thing I did here is I removed a lot of grass on that side. I think that looks much better now, but again, just going to have to get those bone meal out and grass everything up so it looks a little more detailed. Then through here we've got like a path through to the other side, and look at that view right there. That's really nice. We now get to see the hills properly as we walk through, which is cool. So done a little bit more over here as well, which I didn't capture on camera, and that's kind of everything. And yeah, so the next job for me to do is to go around and place tons of torches down and turn this all to grass as well. And that is now looking a lot nicer. The grass really does help out, and it's all been lit up as well, and it looks a lot more natural and lived in, which is cool. But we got a long way to go with this. This is just the beginning. We've done a little bit of terraforming here, and there's something that I've noticed about this, which you'll probably notice as well. That was clever. Okay, you probably noticed it as well. There's something here that needs to change. Let's just look out for a second. Can you guess what it is? The flowers. There are way too many flowers from the bone meal. We've got to run around and collect all of these. See you later, Monkey Farm. Yes, because there's just too many of them, and they add too much little bits of colour here and there, and what looks natural is less of them and more grass. What I'm probably going to do is keep the white ones. I feel like they fit in this area a little bit nicer, so we'll keep a few of them here and there. But that's one of my next jobs, is just to go around and remove all of these flowers. That's strange. I see, they're hitboxes in the middle, but they can be placed kind of in different places around in the block. Yes, that's how it works. And then over here, I haven't had a chance to bone meal this yet, so you can see if I hadn't done that, it would have looked pretty plain, and this bit here doesn't look as nice. But we got a long way to go. Like I think I've already said, this is just the beginning of prettying up this area. Let's kill this guy. Go away. We don't want you here. There we go. Yeah, so I just want to show you quickly before I go. Look at all of this. This is what we got from doing all of that. So a lot of the work has been done, and we've got a lot of resources for it, which is pretty cool. And also here in the middle, in the beacon, I've set this to speed, which I think is pretty smart. You can see our field of view is slightly increased. We're whizzing around, and it shows it this time. I looked at it a moment ago and it didn't show you what it had been set to, but that's going to help me whiz around and knock out all of these flowers. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to have a little chat about some of the things that are changing on the server. So I'll go around knocking out these flowers and I'll be back with you in a moment. So I just figured, why not kill two birds with one stone? If the next thing I'm going to do is have a little chat with you, then why don't we do that while I'm breaking up these flowers over here. So at the meeting we made a decision. Now for those of you that are observant or have been paying attention, not so much in my videos just because it hasn't happened to me, but creepers do not do any damage to the environment at the moment. That's because we have the mob griefing rule turned to false. Now the only reason that we wanted to do this was to stop Enderman griefing. In the last season we had a lovely area in Hermiton or Hermitown and it got destroyed over time by Enderman picking off blocks around the mountains, and that would really ruin this place. I mean, look at this lovely view, and then imagine loads of these little blocks here and there are missing and placed in the odd places. It really does make a negative difference over time, and so for that reason we have had it turned to false while we try and find a solution, because our original one was to use a modified jar in which the Endermen are unable to pick up blocks, and unfortunately that jar, it kind of runned, but as soon as an Enderman tried to pick up blocks the server would get a bit funky and crash, which is really unfortunate. It didn't affect the world in a negative way, so the world is still fine, but it meant that we had to turn the rule to false. And so at last we have a solution thanks to Ease, again the command block wizard, and someone on the Reddit who suggested a fantastic idea on how to stop them griefing. So what we're going to do is add a command block that's always going to look for Enderman, and when it finds an Enderman that isn't holding a block, it's going to give it a jungle leaf. A jungle leaf block, that is, and it's the type of block that's already decaying. So if you didn't know, you've got your leaf blocks over here. All of these are probably the normal ones. As soon as I break the wood and it's far enough away from the leaf block, its block ID will actually change, although now that's called a state, I guess. You can see check decay is set to false. That would actually be, I guess, true maybe? Yeah, it probably would be. That's interesting. And then decayable probably refers to if you've picked up a leaf block with silk touch. Let's do this right now. That is a silk touch block. This is cool, I like this. Yeah, we got new stuff on the side of the F3 screen. So let's place that down, and look, it's not decayable. That's interesting. Okay, so we know how that works, that's cool. But yes, it's going to put a jungle leaf block in the hands of the Enderman, and then when it places it down, it's going to decay automatically over time, which is a really cool fix. And what I like about it is that it's vanilla, you know, you're putting a vanilla block into their hands, and when they place it down, it's going to decay naturally over time. Now, the reason it's a jungle leaf block and not another one is because that has the lowest sapling drop rate, so that means just another thing that's minimized, because obviously now it means in the world you'll see the occasional jungle sapling or jungle leaf block, and that's not the best of things, but to stop them griefing and tearing apart the landscape, I think that is a fair compromise. Now Ease did come up with another solution as well. He can actually make them hold barrier blocks, and then it looks like they're not holding anything at all, and then when they place down a barrier block, he has another clock that checks for Endermen that are near barrier blocks and removes them. But we decided that we'd rather go with the slightly less intensive and vanilla friendly one. So that is the new thing that's coming to Hermitcraft soon. I've got to update the box and sort out the world, you know, download it, upload it back to the server once that's been changed. But that means that creepers will blow up, that mob griefing won't be turned to false, and that the Enderman won't be able to destroy our world, which is awesome. Lately, things are just not going to plan with these episodes. I think we might change up the plan at the moment. Obviously, that is to make this area around here look pretty, but I'm just having so much trouble with growing these trees. I just made a load of dark oak ones. You can see I got tons of saplings from that. I had a few of those jotted around the areas, and then I tried to make some bigger trees like this in the middle of them, and they just refused to grow. They were growing like really small wimpy ones, and it didn't look very good, so I decided to start over. And the first tree that I grow, it's so big that it's just kind of filled up this area, and now I've realised it's going to be a pain to take down because all of these leaves are next to these wood blocks up the top here, and I'm not sure if even this is a good thing. Now from up here coming down, I think actually the tree being there is pretty cool, but it kind of obscures the view of everything that we've built so far, at least from this perspective, and I'm really not sure, I'm really not feeling what's going on here. So I thought the best thing to do would be actually to focus on what I was going to do in the next episode. You know, after this area down here is prettied up, which we are probably not going to be getting around to, was to work on the upstairs area over here. So we've got a room to do here, and then a little bit of a staircase up to this bit, and I got a feeling that this is going to go very easy because I like doing interiors. That always works very well for me. So I'm going to focus on this now, just because everything is going so strange with the trees around here and being quite tedious. But if this is still here at the end of the episode, I'd like to know if you think that looks good or not. I kind of hate it and I kind of love it as well. It's a massive weird little tree, but it kind of blocks the view as well, which isn't good. Do you know what? I just cannot remember if I showed this in a previous episode or not. I was supposed to, and I can't remember if I actually did. This is just Rusty or Tango saying thank you for the logs that I donated. Of course, I would have given those for free, but he's given me some diamonds in return, and ignore the golden shovels. That was just me doing some enchanting, but that is very, very generous, and they'll be useful for repairing things and stuff. But anyway, let's go down here and have a look at what I've done. And this cobblestone right here, by the way, I realised a moment ago what we need for this. We just need to break it up in a couple of places, like right under there as well, and just put in some andesite. That breaks up the texture and makes it look a little bit nicer. And it'd be cool if we had andesite stairs as well, but we don't. Yes, that is just a touch nicer. That little torch right there needs to go. But yes, this is what I've done. Now, one of the things I want to do in a moment is actually put some of this achacha wood going up the side and try and make it look like it supports to hold that up, so we don't have to do too much terraforming. But if we go down here, we've got a transitional room. This one is to go from the baked bean wood stairs to the cobblestone one right here, so some andesite and cobble around the outside. This red and glowstone, by the way, that's actually a kind of recurring thing from up there, so that goes in to this little bit nicely. Not so sure about that block. I actually just had one spruce short, so I just put anything in there. But then the sides of this room right here are really cool. I love how those blocks look next to the dark oak. And by the way, the ceiling here has some trapdoors on. Now, this was originally to hold back the dirt that was there, the dirt and stone, but then I decided to replace it with spruce. And also you could have it like that as well, but I think that looks really ugly. However, the little bit just like that works pretty well. And then if you go down here, I decided to give this room a little bit of a roof as well, but then everything else is pretty unchanged. And what we can do right now actually is talk about a big change that we're going to make here on the server. We are going to move our spawn chunks using the command to do so. Now that is probably, yes, I got an extra one. We're going to donate 2 of those. We're going to head over there and donate them, like I said I should do earlier in the episode. We are going to move our spawn chunks. This is a pretty big decision because it's kind of a big deal. You don't want to mess something like that up. But when we made this world, the spawn chunks are actually set at 0, 0, just for the sake of them being at 0, 0. And we didn't really think about where Hermit Hills was going to be. It was actually not long before we started that we were looking around on the map, and probably about an hour before we started our live stream, we actually found this location. Slipgator found it, and we all kind of came over here and we all felt it straight away, like it was the location to come and build, and it has been. It's been a lovely place to build here on the server. But yeah, we didn't really think about how far away it was from the spawn chunks. So Tango is obviously going to be working on the iron farm very soon. There's other things that we can take advantage of there as well, like items coming through from the end automatically. That'll be ender pearls. And me and Tango were talking about it. Logistically, it is really too far away from this place to justify automatically transferring items from over there to over here. Now, we could pull it off. We could build an item stream. Let's put those in there. But the thing is, it's going to send so many items into unloaded chunks that we could have some huge problems. So what we decided to do is put the spawn chunks closer to this place. And I don't think that's really a bad thing. You know, some people are very pure about vanilla, and I am as well in a way, but I just feel like this is a case of making everyone's life easier. You know, why go through such a grind for the sake of saying that it's pure, you know? And so for that reason, I think it's going to be cool to move these spawn chunks. So my microphone wire got snagged there, so that would have made a horrible noise. What I was saying is that me and Tango now have to get together and we have to do a little bit of exploration and try and figure out an area to put those chunks in. So they're probably going to be nearby by about 100 to 200 blocks away. However, we don't want to tread on anyone's toes, so everyone sent me a list of their coordinates, so where their bases are located at. So you might see something from me and Tango doing that soon. We're simply going to move them, and then that'll be a permanent location where we can build the iron farm and other things as well. So that's something that we'll be doing soon. And what I actually need to do next, I'm not sure. Kind of running out of time to record this episode today, so I think we'll do this little bit here. I'll get some achacha wood, we'll finalise this bit on the side here, and I'll be back with you in a moment. So I thought that was going to do, and then I stepped back and I went, oh dear, that does not look right at all, does it? I think the trick here is that we want to hold back the dirt, so at the moment the dirt's on top of it, and then that just makes the way the texture's going to go from one to another look a little bit odd. So if we remove some of... why can't I jump up on there? Because it is a fence post. If we remove some of this, I think it will look a touch better. Kind of. But what we want to do here is actually just put some more blocks on and then top them off. So what we're going to do is put a cap on this one, and then the next one will be slightly higher up. There you go, that looks good already. Whoa, what happened with my keyboard there? It ghost moved me backwards. My keyboard does that sometimes, which is a little bit annoying. You'll press a key and then it will act as if you're holding it down, which is not good. Not good indeed. Ow, and I've fallen down. And there we go, that looks much better. It looks like it's actually doing something now. I like the way you can see a little bit of the stone at the top, but there you go, that is this project kind of half done. This bit is anyway. The bit down the bottom, which we were supposed to be doing, isn't. Let me know what you think about that tree. And one thing I want to mention, with speed 2, whizzing up this staircase is really awesome. Look at how fast we go along here. If you're watching this in 60 FPS, you're probably loving it. But there you go. So that is going to be it for this episode of Hermitcraft. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. It will always be appreciated, and I will catch you in the next episode.